Hey there. So this is my airship that I've been working on for the past couple of weeks. Uh, Overall, I'm pretty pleased with how it turned out. I'm not too unhappy. It took a little bit of finagling for me to be satisfied with it. In the end, I decided that I actually do like where it's going. So for this video, I'm just going to show the steps of the build. I left a lot of it out. There was quite a bit of material to cover. It's always tough to winnow down 20 hours of work into about 12 minutes, but I do the best I can. And as always, your feedback is welcome. If you like what I'm doing, like and subscribe. You know the drill. Same shit everybody begs for. And here we go. I started my airship project with some rough sketches to help me visualize the size and overall shape of the craft. I did sketch out some of the deck details, and if you are interested and you want to download the deck plans for, say, a role-playing game, you can get them on my Patreon for $1. And I'll also be offering some adventure hooks related to my builds as part of the tier benefits. I'm a gamer for over 40 years, and with such a long history of inventing or making up games, I thought I would try to offer that as part of the benefits for supporting me on Patreon, so please consider. You can also use the adventures that I'm going to be writing. You can also use them as springboards for a larger campaign if you were interested in doing that. I have the outline of a story for around Mortimer Pilkington, who is the steampunk alchemist, and the elvish wishing well that sits on his property. I may do another version of the airship and then have it so that the decks come apart and it could be playable. But I don't really design any of my builds for a particular game. I really just kind of build stuff that I find personally interesting, but that could be used in a game, but it's not for a game. I'm using tracing paper to outline the shape of the decks and then transferring the shapes onto paper so that I can keep everything consistent in size, and it helps me plan out where the hallways are and where the rooms are. The next thing I did was make a tiny mock-up of the vessel so I could get a sense of the overall shape, see if I liked it. And that actually helped me a lot to plan the build. Like I said, in the middle of it, I wasn't sure that I really liked it and I was going to scrap it. But I just kind of kept pushing on, pushing through, and that turned out okay, I think. So once I had the dimensions all mapped out on my sketch, I used a grid technique to transfer the sketch onto a full-size piece of foam core. And then once all the parts were laid out and sketched out, then it was just a matter of cutting them out and figuring out where the walls were going to go, where the walls were going to go, where the walls were going to go. Yeah, I only know one language and I can barely speak it. That's not true. Puedo hablar un poco español, but I'm really bad at that too, so I know 2 languages that I can speak badly. That's really great. This skyship is the second project from my channel, and it's taken over a month to build and still not finished. So if you want to know how not to make a project, this is it. But seriously, I take my time. I enjoy the process. I really want my builds to be something I can be proud of. Unfortunately, that kind of slows me down. I also don't limit myself to a particular schedule. You know, my build takes as long as it takes, and unfortunately, they take a long time. So in that respect, I'm more of an artist than a crafter. I like to think I'm a little bit of both. In the end, I like the end result, but how I get there can be a real meandering long road. At some point in the future, I might try to detail the interior of the ship, but I thought, well, that's going to be a 3-month project, and I didn't really want to dive into a 3-month project. I could make it a 3-month project, but I don't think that's going to generate a lot of interest. Now that I have the deck plans transferred over to my foam core, I cut out all the pieces, get ready to glue them together. And I find foam core is my preferred material. I actually don't use XPS foam very much at all. I don't like it because it's so easy to to mar, meaning you can put your fingernail and drag it across, it'll leave a mark. So I actually like my things to be built in such a way that they can be handled without leaving nicks and dings in them. And I find XPS foam just drives me crazy because it doesn't have that durability. So I rarely use it. I might use it as maybe the interior structure of something, but I'll never use it as the exterior. I prefer to use things like paper mache, things that are will stand up to being used. XPS foam is a cheesy material, and nobody should be using it. I hate it. See how much blowback I get on that one. But anyway. And so my grid technique actually helped me to keep the size consistent from my sketch. So when I scaled it up, it looked proportional. It's an old technique. Pretty much we'll learn it in any art school. So this is the lowermost deck. It's a fantasy ship that's going to be flying around in a fantasy realm. It doesn't have to worry about things like having sails and stuff, although I will design some sails for it. But as I'm cutting out the keel, I realized that I wanted this ship to be able to actually land and sit on the ground as part of my fantasy of what this vessel does. So when I'm getting ready to glue down parts of the ship, one of the things that I'll do beforehand is to cut out small strips of painter's tape. Use painter's tape because you can peel it back up. And it comes in different grades of stickiness. Some are like low tack so that you don't peel the paint off. And I find that the low tack actually works really well. It doesn't peel up any of the paper around the foam core too much or at all if you're careful. And here's my attempt at stop motion animation. But here I glue down the side of that airship, the panel that I've made, and then I'm actually using these little bits of painter's tape to hold the edges down while the glue dries, and it works out pretty well. At the end, you just peel them back up, and you are good to go. And even though I'm quite a few videos in now, I still find it difficult to fill space. I'm actually kind of an introverted person, and it still feels strange to sit here and talk to the phone or my recording device and not a person. But this is how it is. As you're watching these videos, and if you have any ideas about future builds, I'm really hoping to get a little bit of participation and some feedback from people that watch my videos. I mean, it seems like there are some people watching, which kind of gives me hope. And, you know, really, this is all just about having fun. It's nothing serious. We're all trying to make it in this world and, you know, have good lives. Part of my good life is making these little projects, making cool stuff. But for the most part, most of my time I spent just kind of doing things by themselves. And it was only this beginning of the year that I decided maybe I should do this, record it and put it up on this YouTube thing and see what happens. See if people come out and play and give me their ideas as well. So if you have something that you would like for me to try to make something reasonable, let me know. Part of my skill set is also 3D modeling as it pertains to 3D printing. And I have a little Shapeways shop where I sell stuff. But I don't really want to have the headache of owning a printer, but I do enjoy the modeling aspect and getting prints back from people that make them for me. So I'm going to have some characters to go along with these builds pretty soon. Well, so I have that to look forward to. But because I've been a crafter for so long, I actually started, if I needed something, if I wanted to play with something or had an idea for something, I actually physically had to make it. And then, you know, with the rise of 3D printing, it kind of opened up a whole world of possibilities. And with a 3D model, with a 3D printer, you can get some really intricate stuff. And so in that respect, I really am happy to see that come around and how it lends itself to small scale manufacturing. The spider that I used in my attempt at some sort of stop motion animation was a 3D print that I made a while back. And it was the first time I had tried to do something like that. But if you if you stuck around for this part of the video, this is actually something that you may find useful. So I had this kind of oddly shaped skyship that I was trying to make the sides for. And what I'm doing here is I'm basically putting layers of tape over the edges of this strangely shaped wall to kind of get a template that I can use to create the sidewall. Take my time, put strips of tape over this opening, over this hole inside, which is eventually going to become a wall. And you can see me, there's a couple of ways to do this. You can trim the edges once you get that, to help get that shape, or you can also just take a marker and draw along the edges where you can see it through the tape once you press it down. So if you can see that, the writing that I had on the top there, the name of the ship is the Wandering Star. So it takes a little bit of practice. If you have a really strange shape, you can actually use this technique to help you figure out the curve of something, right? And I find that can be really helpful, getting those more curvy kind of shapes into your builds this way. And hopefully seeing this technique will help some other people get some more crazy shapes into their builds. We'll see what happens. And so here I'm just trimming off the edges to match the edges of the ship. And then once I peel off this piece of tape, you'll see that I have something I can work with. And then once you peel that off, that pretty much gives you the shape of any opening. I use this technique to make the trim that you'll see later on in the build. But now that I have this template that's roughly the shape of the opening in the wall, I'm going to trim the edges. And then once that's done, I'll actually get a piece of paper and stick the template, this tape template, onto that paper, and then cut that out. And then I have a template that I can use to cut out the right side wall and the left side wall. And it's actually symmetrical. There's no guesswork involved here. And it works pretty well. In this case, I was using a very thick illustration board for the sides, and to cut those sides, I used this template to cut both the right side and the left side. Or as I called it in this video, the close enough template. And remember that when you are cutting out right side and left side, you always flip the template over, because the side that you cut on always has a beveled edge. So in the meantime, while I was doing this build, I ordered some stuff from Amazon. I got my glue, I got my stand for my camera. This all came in one bag. Now when I ordered, they were like, you can have it a day later and we'll put it all in, we'll save packaging. We're gonna save packaging. I'll send it to you all in one day. Well, guess what? I got this in one bag, a plastic bag, right? And then I got this box right here with the rest of my order. Let's see what's inside, shall we? Let's check it out. Oh, look. A tape, roll of tape, and this, in this box. I can't believe this guy's trying to launch people into space. That's all I'm saying.